And welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I'm Michael DeLon. Today I'm talking with Erik Dodier. Erik, man, thank you for spending some time with me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Michael. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you are welcome. It's always fun to talk with people like Erik because Erik's got this unique ability. He can help business owners predict the future. And so hang with us because we're going to pull out the crystal ball, I think, in a little bit and help you understand what your future could look like. But as we get into that, Erik, you right now, I mean, you built another business, kind of a software business, and you built that up and you sold that thing, and then you decided that what you want to do when you grow up, and you became an EOS implementer, which is kind of
Yeah.
what you do now.
Yeah, right.
And
Yep.
you help businesses and things implement EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System. We run on it, lots of people do. But um, tell me, I mean, talk about that journey and things, and how in the world did you get doing what you're doing today?
Yeah. Well, I'll solve the riddle right away on the predicting the future. Really, my favorite quote is, the best way to predict the future is to create it, right? And it's just a quote that
Absolutely.
rings in my mind all the time. And by the way, I didn't know I was doing this in the early days, right? 30 years ago. I just thought I was starting a business and battling every day to try to figure out how to run the business and grow the business. But fast forward 30 years, and I feel like I'm right where I ultimately want it to be. So it feels really good.
Wow.
But
How cool.
to take you way back, I was in my early 20s, had one tech business after I went to school at the University of New Hampshire, and in during that first job, I bumped into somebody I'd known in high school, and he was building this multimedia team. This is in 1994, so this is the early days, even a little bit
Wow.
pre-web.
Yeah.
And we decided, I always knew I wanted to start a business. I used to read Inc. magazine and, kind of follow where all the fast growing companies were. So through some conversations I had with him, I thought, geez, I could go out and be the salesperson and the business guy. He was really more of a developer. And that combination, kind of opposite skill sets, we
Yeah.
put together and we formed this company called Pixel Media in 1994 and just pivoted our way for the next literally 20 years, right? We started building websites and using different technologies, and I could use all sorts of jargon that people would remember if you're back then, and Cold Fusion and ASP and .NET, right? Some things that are still around, but
Yeah.
fast forward, we got into e-commerce, worked with a platform. That platform got bought by Salesforce. We became a Salesforce partner in this booming Salesforce world, and this is from
Yeah.
2016 to the early 2020s or 2021, 2022. And during that time, we also adopted EOS, and all of that allowed us to literally 5 times growth our business.
Yeah.
When we started with EOS, just coincidentally, we were like 75 people and 15 million in revenue. And by the time we sold it, we were 500 people and 75 million. And I think it was just the clarity that EOS brought us.
Yeah.
And then I was able to sell that business with the team that we had brought in. Stepped away, and then after about 6 months, became an EOS implementer because I was so inspired by what it did for our business. I thought, boy, there's a lot of businesses that could benefit from this. So that's kind of where I am today. It's been a 30-year overnight success, I guess.
I love it. Yeah. But those are the best ones because really, I've been reading all kinds of books over the holidays and things. And one of my favorites that I just reread is called The One Thing.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a great book, basics, but he has a line in there that says, success happens over time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And too many people want that purple pill or that overnight success. And rare is the day. I mean, maybe it happens, but usually behind the scenes, I remember Willie Nelson years ago said, yeah, he's an overnight success after playing in the honky tonks for 20 years.
Right. Right.
And that's how business is. So many times we look at you and go, oh, he's got a software company. He sold it for millions and he's got a. Well, yeah, it took 20 or 25 years of hard knocks and pivoting,
Right.
trying to
Right.
figure this thing out. But through that process, you guys landed on EOS, right? Traction and the entrepreneur operating system and what that does to a company and how that process helps you predict the future. Let's talk about that and how did you all use it in the software company and then how do you help business owners I'm going to camp on that phrase. Predict their future because
Yeah.
they've got to have a vision to run after. And that's part of what EOS is all about, right?
Yeah. Well, the premise is that we all have a lot more control of our future than maybe we think, right? And there's external things that happen all the time, but to the degree that you can get focused on what you want, you kind of will naturally start to attract in that direction, right? You make decisions that way, you meet people that can bring, help you on that path. So the idea of predicting the future is being clear or even somewhat clear. You don't have to have it 1,000% clear, but you have a direction that you're going in. And EOS helps you do that. And I know you've had past guests kind of lay the groundwork and the nuts and bolts.
Mm.
But one of the big pieces of EOS, on top of what I heard others say, and they did an amazing job, is this idea of this VTO, Vision Traction Organizer, that you get kind of your core values, who you want to be as a business, your core focus, what's your purpose, what's your niche, your 10-year target, your marketing strategy, your 3-year picture, 1-year plan, and your quarterly rocks, right? So you sort of take the big where you're going directionally and you start breaking it down. I always say, what's the best way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time, right?
Yep.
What's the best way to achieve your 10-year target? It's probably a quarter at a time.
Yeah.
But you have to know what's most important to do now, and then in 90 days, you know what's most important to do then, and that flywheel starts to turn. So whether that's in business or in life, quite honestly. So that,
Well, it is, and I'm going to camp here just a minute because I've done a lot of reading over the last few months. The one thing, another favorite book of mine is The Road Less Stupid by Keith
okay.
Cunningham, and one of the quotes that Keith pulled out from Warren Buffett, I think it was Warren said, "Hey, the difference between successful people and really successful people is really successful people say no to almost everything."
Yeah, yeah,
And when I read that, Eric, I stopped. I probably read it 4 or 5 times. And then I look back on my entrepreneurial career. I just started my 13th year. So I'm a teenager now in business.
yeah,
And some of the pivots were good. Some of them were chasing shiny objects that I hoped would be that purple pill
yeah,
because back then I didn't have the 10-year vision and the 5-year plan, right?
yeah,
And I speak to entrepreneurs because what I have found is for my company, when I have that vision, or as I like to call it, 10-year, I've got a 10-year direction. I may have a 3 to 5 year vision, and I have a 1-year plan that we break
yeah,
down into quarters and things, right? Break down for them the importance of that process and of the wrestling to get it down to help them say no to all the opportunities that are coming their way that they really shouldn't be chasing because
right.
you're going to create your future by staying true to that vision. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And really where you're heading to is what's your core focus, right? What's the core of what you want to do as a business? And that
Yeah.
informs all those other decisions. What's the 1-year plan to get there? And when you make decisions, I can tell you for us, the reason for 20 years we grew very marginally and just barely, in some years not at all, is we said yes to everything. We said, and in the early days of a business, maybe that's more common. You're trying to pay the bills, you're trying to find your way.
Yeah.
But it was when we finally said, what do we want to really be great at, right?
Yeah.
And let's intentionally go there and let the other stuff go away. Part of that was paying attention to our customers. We found that we had this such variety of services. We started listening to what were they getting the most value from, what were we the best at, what did we like to do the most, and gradually you start to kind of the other stuff starts to go away, or I started not we started not doing as well at it because it just wasn't getting our attention. And your customers will tell you when you're not doing as well at certain parts of your business. So we kept getting more and more narrow, and yeah, and that basically by saying no to other things coming in, it creates more space for the things you really want to do. And
Yeah.
that can be hard sometimes because you might, as a business, be trying to pivot to this small area, but you're so used to it, and so is your entire company. I remember our employees, I don't think thought that my partner and I would stay true to the core focus. They thought, oh, they're just saying that. But as soon as that other big client that's
Yeah.
waving a check around comes in, they'll go back to doing all the old things we did. And they weren't wrong. We had done that before, but now we got super focused. So yeah, so getting clear on that focus is the ability to say no to a lot of things.
Yeah. And that's when you say no. I mean, this is Stephen Covey, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, another one of my favorite books, right?
Yeah.
He says it's easier to say no when you have a bigger yes inside. And that bigger yes, one of the things I love about EOS is you have to wrestle to write these things down. And EOS has
Absolutely.
a system, a way to capture it
Yeah.
so that when you get an opportunity, you can say, all right, before I make that decision, let me go back and reread what I'm about and where I'm going. And does that actually fit, and talk with your team, right? That's to me is one of the benefits of having things written down that you've actually wrestled with to go, oh, this is who we are, and we're going to be true to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're doing it as a leadership team. So when you're doing it as a team, you're all buying in, you're all committing, and you're getting greater input, right, into
Yes.
what are the most important things. And so when you leave that room, say after your quarterly meeting, you're committed to getting those things done, right?
Yeah.
This wasn't something everybody just made up on their own. I mean, everyone said, are these the most important things? Yes. Does everybody understand the most important things everyone else is working on? Yes. And what happens is that prevents, in 3 weeks from the meeting, someone saying, "Oh, never mind, I got this other thing that's more important." No,
Yeah.
we just spent a day together and
Yeah.
said this is the most important thing. And things do come up, but you have to plan for the unexpected as well, right? That's the ability of a leadership team to predict what may also come up during the quarter and make sure there's room for that. But yeah, when you're doing it as a leadership team together, you're creating a lot of peer accountability and accountability, even as a leader. Once you say this is our vision, our core focus, I don't want to go back on what I said, so we got to stick to it, right? So you're creating accountability actually both directions, even as the
Yeah.
leaders to stick to what they say. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And now you're an EOS implementer, right?
correct. Yeah.
Unpack just in case somebody missed the other episodes. What does EOS talk about in terms of visionary implementer, and what role do you play for an entrepreneur with a small but growing business? They may have 4 or 5 employees, right? Where do you fit into the mix?
Yeah. So as the EOS implementer, I'm an outside resource being hired by the leadership team to come in and help them implement the practices of EOS, which are just, we call the VTH, get the vision right, get traction and discipline working towards that vision, and create a healthy leadership team, right? At its fundamentals, that's what we're trying to do. Within the business, sometimes you have visionaries and integrators. Sometimes integrator and implementer gets confusing if you're not living in this world. The
Yeah,
integrator is the person inside the business that's
yeah,
overseeing that leadership team and leading that leadership team. Could be the president, could be the CEO. And then the visionary, which is, in most companies, that's that founder that loves to go generate the big ideas and be out at the trade shows and talking to the big clients, but they're not always the best person to have their hands in the details of the business. So the visionary integrator relationship is what allows the visionary to be at their best and their unique ability and get out there into the market and preach, to the world what they're great at. The integrator is kind of the nuts and bolts, keeping the trains running on time, holding people accountable, kind of the tiebreaker. Um, I can tell you though, when we started running EOS, it was like, wow, now my job is just make sure I've got the best leadership team. I got the right people in the right seats. I used to think my job was to jump in and solve everyone else's problem.
right.
And what was amazing with EOS is it's like, the whole concept of right people, right seats is making sure that every major role, functional role on your leadership team is right person, right seat. And when you get that, now I'm just there to make sure, I'm taking out obstacles that are in their way, but they're executing their job. They're accountable for the results of their job.
Yeah, and it's really cool when you have somebody like yourself who can help in those meetings and stuff, but having that implementer. So I'm very blessed, Eric. My 30-year-old son Caleb is not only my chief operating officer, but he's also my implementer. And he and
Is he?
I,
Oh, is he your integrator?
he's my integrator.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So he and I work hand in glove, right?
yeah,
And he allows me to stay in that visionary role because that's what I do. And it's funny because when we do our quarterly meetings and our retreats and all that, it's him. He's running the whole meeting.
yeah.
I'm the founder. I should be doing this. I'm like, I don't want anything to do with it. You tell me
Absolutely.
what we got going on, right?
Yeah,
And the business runs so much better. And
yeah.
he's taught me to keep my hands out of the nitty-gritty details because I mess things up.
That's brilliant.
And it's really that's when an entrepreneur who's listening to this understands the dynamic that can happen. And then the importance of having somebody like you coming in as that outside set of eyes, because you work with probably dozens of companies, and you can say, here's some best practices, here's what we found over here. And here's what I'm seeing within the leadership team that you guys have. There might
Yeah.
be some miscommunication or some hard feelings or some things we need to work through to find that breakthrough. That's
Yeah.
part of what you do as well,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. In fact, we often don't use the term. People ask, what I do now, and they say, "Oh, you're consulting," and I just say yes because it's just
Yeah.
easier. But when we're really talking to clients, we're not really consultants. We're facilitators, teachers, and coach, right?
Mm,
We're teaching the system, right? Especially in those first few days that you roll it out. Then you're also facilitating the conversations, right? 'Cause like I say, I don't have the answers how to run an HVAC business or an insurance
right.
business or commercial printing equipment, right? These are some of my clients. They have the answers. So my job is to facilitate the conversations. And then what you just described is coach. I can see things because I'm not on the playing field with them, right? I'm not in their business. So I can see dynamics going on and my job again through questioning, right? I'm not there to give them the answer. I probably don't have the answer. It's to have the right questions so they arrive at the right answers. So yeah, that's really the role is the facilitator, teacher, and coach.
Yeah, and that is and it's huge. Again, going back to the road less stupid, Keith Cunningham, he has a quote in there. He says, having the right answer is good. Having the right question is
Oh
genius.
yeah, love that. Yeah,
And so many times in our own businesses, we are so close to it that we can't get to the right question.
right.
But somebody looking from the outside in, like you do, you can go, well, have you guys thought about this? Or what about that? And one question many times can just jar everybody enough to go, wow, no,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
And that's
yeah,
a springboard to a whole new conversation with that leadership team that takes them somewhere that they probably were wanting to go, but they didn't know how to get there. Do you see
yeah,
that
for sure.
happening?
Oh, all the time. And what's funny is, so I was the integrator in my business, right, for
Okay.
5 years. So now I'm the implementer, on the outside. And wow, what a better integrator I'd be now. No, no, now having taught this, boy, if you want to learn something really well, teach it, right?
Yeah,
That's.
absolutely.
And but as the implementer now, for sure, you can see things that they don't see or interactions. Um, but oftentimes you just need to keep asking the right question, shine a spotlight on it, right?
Yeah.
I had an owner asked me, he was bringing some others into the business. Said, "Are you going to tell people what to do?" And I said, I'm not going to tell them what to do. We're going to together probably shine a spotlight on areas of the business, and then they'll know what to do, right? It'll become evidently, crystal clear where the hot spots are in the business. So I said, at the end of the day, I'm not an expert in your business, your industry, but I can help you, highlight, elevate where the areas you need to spend more time.
Yeah, yeah. And I love how we've talked about this because it's predicting the future. We always come into New Year's or something and go, okay, this is gonna be my best year ever. And we talk about it, but we don't usually take the next step and actually wrestling and writing it down and saying, okay, this is where we're going. And having a 1 year plan is great. But the thing I think I really, really appreciate about EOS and how Gino's put this whole thing together is you're really visioning a little bit longer. I think it's like a 10-year vision to go, wow, where am I going? And then working backwards and
That's
saying,
right.
okay, how are we going to do this in the next 5 years, 3 years, 1 year, quarter,
Yeah.
month, week, day, right? And it just starts to really make sense. And what it does is it brings the word that I like to use is alignment.
Yep.
My
Yep.
son and I were not in alignment about 18 months ago. And I mean, the business was doing okay, but it was like those tires on your car that are out of alignment, and they just
Yeah.
kind of, well,
Yeah.
it was a rough ride, and we were trying to make decisions. And then we took about a quarter to really get aligned. And ever since then, Eric, man, things have been
Is
rocket
that when
fuel.
you started using EOS a couple of years
No,
ago?
about 4 years ago.
Okay.
And it just, he and I were just missing each other in some things. And it took some hard conversations, with my son, as he
Yeah.
would say, Daddy, yes, son, okay. So me submitting to my son.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
but working all of that out, looking back at our vision and traction and our people and just but without alignment, your
Yeah.
business is not going to scale very well at all.
Right. Yeah, and
And
that's the magic of part of it is the quarterly meeting in that 90 days. And it's funny as you get rolling in EOS, you can kind of see how some companies like, hey, do we really need this 90-day meeting? Like, come on, we're doing fine. But it's kind of been, and you mentioned Gino Wickman, who kind of built all this. through his own experience is that after about 90 days, people start to drift a little bit,
Yeah.
right? So probably if you had to really, you don't want to miss a quarter because you've missed the chance to kind of get everybody back on the same page. Maybe even some of the things that were important 90 days ago, you hopefully solved. And if you didn't solve it, maybe it's not as important, but now there's more pressing things you have to put on those top, 3 to 7 rocks.
Yeah.
So that quarterly is a discipline that a lot of people don't want to do, right? And maybe that's where you and your son, hey, well,
Yeah.
we got it, we're on track, we got our VTO. But then every 90 days, get together, reset. Is we on track with the vision? Are we still on the same page? And off you go.
And being willing to say, yeah, no, we don't need to pursue that anymore because
Yeah,
we were working on it. It was a rock in Q1. In
yeah,
Q2, we haven't made the progress, and we're like, is that really a rock? And then we
right.
move it out and bring something else on.
That's
And
right.
it is that rhythm of going, no, this is good. And it does bring focus to go, okay, somebody told me years ago in sales, I can do almost anything for 90 days.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
whether I like it or not, I can do it for 90 days. Okay, great.
sure.
Let's do that.
Yeah,
But yeah, the rhythm, the expectation, the let's stay in alignment, all of that is so important as business owners as we try to predict the future. We
yeah,
do that by creating the future through our present actions.
that's right.
Those actions are informed through the planning we do with our team, and whether that team is 2 people or 22 people. Right? I don't
Yeah,
know. I mean, that's the beauty of EOS is it works for all sizes of companies, right?
right. Yeah, you
So,
reminded me. We had a vision wall in our office in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. We had a vision wall, and above the wall, it said, "The future is created in the present."
yeah.
And that's it. And it was there for 10 years. And I could tell you, we actually did an exercise where we created these fictional magazine covers, right?
Uh-huh.
Of the future magazines. And this was in 2010. And we put,
Yeah.
Apple magazine or Ink magazine. And we had our design team create fictional covers of
That's
what the
good.
future would be saying about us. When I tell you, how much there was some reality to that. It's incredible, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so the idea of this, the best way to predict the future is to create it. It is a theme that runs through probably more through things that I even notice, right, in my own life. But it's a theme that's there, and it's a great way to kind of approach every day.
Well, it is because what it does is it gives you that motivation to get through the slog of today because not every day is a, yes, we knocked it out of the park today. Some days are strikeouts.
Yeah.
And some days are like, why am I doing this? Oh, yeah, that's why. And that it brings you back as a team to go, okay, let's keep going because we're really onto something. And what we find is that as you build that rhythm, that quarterly rhythm, you get to the end of the year, you take some time, you look back and you go, wow, we actually made some progress. We're doing
Oh,
really well.
incredible. Yeah. Yeah.
That's the joy of it. So who's a if somebody's out there listening to this, what are they thinking or feeling before they would reach out to somebody like you? What's going on in their mind or in their business?
Yeah. They probably are, business owners or maybe on a leadership team. EOS sweet spot is that, 10 employee to 250. There's
Yeah,
bigger, there's smaller, but that's the sweet spot. They probably feel like their business is chaotic. They're probably feeling like people aren't 100% accountable to what they say they're going to do.
there you
They
go.
probably feel like there's a few people on the leadership team that have been hanging around, shouldn't be here or don't want to be here. Maybe even had said to their peers they don't want to be here, but hey, it's a good job, I'll stick around, right? They're,
Yeah,
they're probably sensing like we could be doing better, right? This could be
yeah,
a better run organization, and I always felt that way, and I tried everything, right? I was a Vistage member, a CEO peer group thinking, all right, I'll just go and I'd listen to speakers and they'd solve little problems here and there, and I'd try to go back. What I loved about EOS was more of a complete system,
yeah,
and nothing else that I had tried was a sort of complete. It was sort of a spot. Oh, right, better KPIs. Oh, okay, great.
right.
If I have KPIs, that's the answer. Nope. Better core values. Oh, if I have core values, that's the answer. EOS kind of captures all that
Yeah,
and says, do it this way. And if you sort of suspend disbelief a bit, it's amazing. I mean,
yeah,
it truly is. And by the way, I'm rare. It's rare I run into someone that either uses EOS or works at a company that uses EOS that isn't like, yes, it's incredible and it's one of the best things we did. I mean, it's I almost never run into anybody like that.
That's right. Yeah. Because it's not just a philosophy, it's a framework, but it's also like, here's exactly what you need to do. Every time my son and I meet for our quarterly meetings, we both have our traction book, right? That walks you through how is this meeting supposed to work. And we work through it because it's a playbook. I mean, it's just really
Yeah.
it's really an amazing system and it's been around for golly, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
So
And it's
it's not
not,
new.
yeah, sometimes people get confused. They think it's software.
Yeah.
There is software out there to contain all your EOS information, that can kind of like, if you're all
Sure.
virtual team, you can all put everything up there. So you have your vision in one place, your rocks in one place and all that. But EOS itself is not software. It's just a set of fundamental business practices and principles that, by the way, are so simple. You wonder why wasn't I doing this before, right?
Right.
And again, I ran a business for 25 years without it,
Right.
and I ran a business for 4 or 5 years with it,
Yeah.
and I'm like, it wasn't even close to like the difference in terms of how it even made me a better CEO.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Oh, without question.
so yeah, and it makes good like sort of okay managers better because now
Mhm.
they have a structure, and it makes good managers great because now the energy they were spending on, well, how do I do this and how do I do that and when should I have a meeting, and it's like that
Yeah.
energy is now all captured, and now they can put their energy into like time with their people, the real business challenges, things like that. So yeah, they also talk. It really harnesses human energy, right? At the end of the day, it's a way to
Mhm.
capture human energy and get it all going in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. We've experienced that. I know you have. And if you're listening to this and you want to experience that, may I recommend that you just reach out to Erik. So, Erik, I mean, how would somebody find you, learn more about you, connect with you? What's the best like next step for somebody listening to this?
Yeah. Well, I'm up in the Northeast. So I work with my clients are mostly up here. So you can go to the EOS Worldwide website, put in find an implementer, and that'll direct you to someone in your area. If you just want to have a conversation, you can hit me up on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. I love if someone messages me and says, "Hey, can you just give me a quick overview?" Sure. And then ultimately, if you talk to an implementer, they're gonna, and the leadership team, they want to get this in front of everybody. They do a 90-minute meeting, and then
Mm,
they show you the full model, and that's when you then can decide, is this right for us? So,
awesome.
but yeah, I'm up on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way.
Okay. All right. I will grab that link and have that in the show notes so that you can reach out to Erik and follow him on LinkedIn, have a conversation with him,
Yeah.
and just see how this whole EOS entrepreneurial operating system can work in your business to really bring more alignment, bring more clarity, and help you predict the future by creating it. Erik, man, thank you for just spending some time with me. It's been a really fun conversation.
Yeah. Thanks, Michael. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. Thanks for listening to Experts Speak. Tune in again for another great episode. Take care and God bless.